Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the opportunity to say a few words at this important event, reminding us of the international terrorism perpetrated by the regime in Tehran. It's been customary every year now for the last 15 years for me to have the privilege of travelling to France as part of the British delegation of parliamentarians for the annual gathering of the NCRI and its thousands of friends around the world. Last year, we were privileged to visit our friends in Albania. Together, every year, we celebrate democracy, the freedom to travel, and above all else, the freedom of speech. Iranian exiles, parliamentarians and ex-parliamentarians from around the globe are there to make the case alongside Maryam Rajavi for a democratic, free and secular Iran, alongside thousands upon thousands of people who attend those rallies. Many more thousands watch our proceedings, including many, many brave souls inside Iran itself, putting themselves at risk just for listening to what we say. But we're also there to denounce the theocratic dictatorship for its hideous export of terrorism around the globe. Iraq, Syria, Hezbollah in the Lebanon, and so many other groups and so many other places. Indeed, the trademarks of the regime are internal repression and the spread of extremism and state terrorism abroad. And so in 2018, many of us gathered once again, committed to the principles of liberal democracy. We have always known that the dictatorship will seek to discredit its opponents. It dare not face them at the ballot box, with candidates, of course, chosen by the Supreme, rather than allowing democracy to run its course. But instead, on the 30th of June 2018, as we gathered near Paris, it emerged that two terrorist plots against the Iranian resistance had been foiled, leading to the expulsion of one of the regime's ambassadors from Tirana and the now historic prosecution, I hope, of another regime diplomat, Assadollah Assadi in Belgium, with his case set to begin next month. A diplomat, and I repeat, a so-called diplomat charged with masterminding a bomb plot against peaceable campaigners for democratic reform. For some of us, it was a chilling reminder of how low the regime in Tehran will stoop, and a reminder of the repression of free speech forced upon the people of Iran for the last 4 decades or more. And yet, even as he faces prosecution, as recently as October the 9th, according to Reuters, Assadi has warned the Belgian police, again a diplomat, warning the Belgian police force of possible retaliation by unidentified groups if he is found guilty. This is truly reprehensible, disgraceful behaviour, but illustrating again that the tentacles of the Tehran regime indeed run deep, and they must face the united opposition of the international community. Those of us who are Europeans, whether we're in the European Union or not, those of us who are Europeans, we will not tolerate terrorism on European soil. And so we call upon the governments of the West, of Britain, of the European Union and others to prosecute the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the Ministry of Intelligence and Security as terrorist organisations. How dare the prescription once existed on the PMOI and wisely and justifiably lifted not apply to proven terrorists such as the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the Ministry of Intelligence and Security. They are terrorists and they must be treated as such. We must ensure that trade and diplomatic relations are conditional on ending terrorism. In Britain, under the Foreign and Commonwealth Office's Global Human Rights Sanctions Regulation, they have that power. to proscribe those individuals and groups. That must become a reality. We must publicly name, shame, and report on terrorists and terrorism. And we must impose sanctions for pursuing state terrorism activities. I've always hesitated to use the word appeasement, but it's appropriate in this case. We cannot be seen to appease terrorists. And we must shut down embassies in Europe and expel diplomats in violation, those operating in violation of the Vienna Convention. And finally, something obvious to all Democrats, the governments of the West must enter dialogue with Maryam Rajavi and the NCRI. They must understand the motivations behind our cause, the creation of a democratic, free and secular Iran. That is our goal. That is the priorities, should be the priorities of the West, but it's the priorities of the NCRI and millions of Iranians throughout the world. But before that day, when Tehran is liberated, the international community must be very, very clear and very, very vocal in its condemnation of the international terrorism that the Iranian regime represents. I'm sorry I'm not with you in person. I'm sorry we're not able to meet as we have done in those great gatherings in the past, but thank you very much for the opportunity to share some thoughts in solidarity with you for what you're seeking to achieve. You have many friends, and we will continue voicing our concerns with you and alongside you. Thank you very much.